Hello, how you doing? I'm Rigo Garza. I'm gonna be your counselor today.
Cool, Rigo. My name's Steve.
Nice to meet you, Steve. So, I'm assuming that they went through the confidentiality paperwork with you up front?
You know what? I remember. I just signed all the forms because I just thought I had to sign them.
Okay, well, yeah, you do. But also, what that means basically is that whatever you and I speak about in here stays in here. Okay, there are a couple of circumstances where I would have to break confidentiality, and those circumstances were if you were to say you are going to hurt yourself or hurt somebody else, then I have to obviously report that. Another instance in which I'd have to break confidentiality is a situation where there may be child neglect or endangerment and elderly neglect or endangerment.
Okay.
Other than that, we can speak about the good, the bad, and the ugly in here, and it's gonna stay here.
Okay, cool.
Fair enough?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, cool. Well, I am a licensed mental health counselor. I've got my master's in counseling. Been working here for about 8 years. I love doing this. I'm pretty local. I am pretty, well acquainted with the population in this area. I was born and raised here. I went to college at Eastern. I'm pretty, right where I want to be. I like doing this work.
I got your number from a good friend of mine that, and I won't tell you his name. You know it, but he suggested I come and talk to you because you're good.
Awesome, thank you. I
Yep,
appreciate
yep.
that. You want to tell me a little bit about yourself and maybe a little bit about why you decided to come here?
So actually, believe it or not, I'm actually a student right now, and I'm working on my degree in social work as well.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
I've been divorced for a long time. I'm single. I do have a son, a pretty amazing son. He's in another state, and I don't get to see him as often as I would like to. So not part of the reason, but the reason I'm really here is because, what you should know about me is that, I'm sure you'd be familiar with this if I were to let you know that I'm an addict, and really I would like to say I'm an addict in recovery, but I've been involved off and on in recovery for my addiction for years. But prior to, about a month ago, I had several years of clean time where I was abstinent from drugs, and I certainly was proud of that. So the reason it brings me in today is that, this particular time of year, and I don't know what happened, but maybe I got caught up in the fact that I'm still dealing with some issues. My mom took her own life on Thanksgiving 20 years ago.
Sorry to hear that.
And it's something I think I've dealt with, but I just threw that out there because I'm trying to figure out why it is I'm here myself. But really, the reason I'm here is after all these years, I, for whatever reason, was just feeling really down. Totally gave in to my compulsion or obsession, or I don't know. I haven't had any thoughts like that in a while, but I went out and got drunk, and I just don't know really how to deal with that in terms of. I know I should be talking to more people about it. I'm kind of ashamed to talk to my sister about it, and my sponsor in the program. He's not even aware, and it's something I really need to do. And I'm just kind of.
So you're dealing with a little bit of shame, maybe?
Yeah, I am at this point because the longer it goes, the worse
You're
worse
just kind of
it is.
internalizing it. You feel.
Yeah, and I feel like
keeping it yourself.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Is that the only time you used, or have you used since?
Oh no, no, that was the only time.
Okay, good.
And I like to minimize it because that wasn't alcohol. Wasn't my drug of choice. It was actually methamphetamine.
Okay.
So if the takeaway is that I'm at least grateful that I didn't go drink and then out of not having inhibitions, or that I didn't go actually get high.
Good.
For me though, in my program, they're one and the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
But I'm still grateful because my history would be if I went and started using meth, I probably wouldn't be in your office. It might take me years to get back to this office.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't, and I'm also glad that you're in here. I want to give you credit for that because you could have very easily said, the heck with it. I already used once. I might as well just keep it going, and So I want to congratulate you for that because you're at the
Thanks.
right place and you're doing the right thing. You're taking care of yourself. Let me ask you, was there anything that you think may have triggered you other than your mom's? Because you said you've been dealing with her death for, obviously she's been dead for several years
Right.
and you've been sober for several years.
Right.
So what was different this year as opposed to other years that may have triggered you?
And that's a good question, because like I just threw that out there because not to try to blame or as an excuse, but I was trying to figure that out myself. But as I sit here and think about it now, I certainly have been. I have some pretty good relationships going on, but I guess there's just been a lot of stress in terms of agendas and scheduling with school right now.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? And it just, I guess I just gave into all that frustration or anxiety and just made a dumb decision, went out and said, this will help for a minute, to make me less frustrated or stressed.
Okay.
And maybe it did or didn't, but it's not something I want to go back to. Because now I'm stuck with the fact that I'm still stressed out and have obligations at school, and that's why I'm here, because I don't want to carry this around with me anymore.
So, you mentioned you have a sponsor, and you haven't shared this with your sponsor yet. What's holding you back from doing that?
I guess I'm just worried about disappointing him, because we have a great relationship. I guess I'm just really worried about, I'm not worried about him being pissed off at me. I'm just worried about the fact that he's going to be disappointed, and then I take on the guilt and shame of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know that's probably not true, but that's where my mind is with it. You know what I mean?
How do you think that would
So
look?
I'm kind of afraid to tell him, but I realize I need to.
How do you think that would look? Let's say if you were to share that with him.
Yeah, that's what's weird, because honest to God, I know him well enough. We have a working relationship. He would be disappointed in me, but he would still be really, really supportive. So it's just it's really on me, because that's really honestly what I think he'd do. So I don't understand what's holding me back. It's something I just need to deal with, I guess.
Would you say that's a goal that you have?
Yeah, that would be.
Maybe
yeah.
Come clean and maybe
Right.
even share it with your relatives and maybe taking on some of that accountability, and that may just help you continue to stay sober.
Right. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. And the fact that for me in the past, carrying around guilt and shame and unresolved issues is why I continued. And then that just becomes a vicious cycle. So you're probably right in that regard.
Do you have any other goals that you might want to just talk about in here, that pertain to your sobriety and why you're in here?
I know, but can I think about that? And maybe if something comes up, I'll
Okay.
certainly be willing to bring it up in the next session.
Yeah, then that's what I was gonna say, like maybe between now and then, we can talk about that in our next sessions, as
Okay.
you're out there and stuff. What about something to think about, like homework? I'm gonna send you with some forms that'll help you just kind of process the next time that you're having one of those trigger moments and you're feeling like, you may want to go out and get a drink, or even if you're not going to, I want you to write that down and just kind of like walk yourself through it. Like, oh, I have a deadline coming up. I feel like I need to go out and have a drink, or man, I'm having lots of thoughts of my mom and her committing suicide, and it's almost Thanksgiving. Obviously, there's always a lot of alcohol, and there's also a lot of family issues that arise around the Thanksgiving time.
So like a journal you're talking about?
A journal, but actually I have a form that's actually just asks specific questions, and you can pretty much just kind of walk yourself through it. Like, it'll ask you why you're feeling the way you are, and you'll see it.
Okay.
I'll have my receptionist give it to you.
All right, I'll be willing to do that.
Okay. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and end the session now and go straight to debriefing. I want to ask Steve, how were you feeling now that the roles were switched and you are the patient?
Yeah, I mean, if we're just talking about, like I said, it's hard. It's kind of weird putting it in perspective, because, obviously, because I think like with you, I kind of used a source that could or not be true. That it was a lot easier to sit in this chair, being able to relate from stuff that I could draw from my own life. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, Yeah, and I gotta say on your end, because I've had to deal with these issues before, and some of the advice, just so you know, I mean, I think you do know, but you gave some good advice in terms of, your suggestion to me that I need to talk to my sponsor and have some accountability. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what you should have said. I mean, that was good.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Writing it
that.
down and give me some homework too. I think that's important because we do that. We do that in the program of NA in terms of, like, your sponsor sometimes will give, my sponsor will sometimes, if I'm going through something, if I'm being, if I'm bitching about stuff all the time, he said, Steve, you need to go home and when I see you next, you need to bring me a gratitude list where you write down everything you're grateful for.
Wow, that's awesome.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, so those were good suggestions, I thought it went really well. I thought you did a good job.
Thank you so much. Yeah, as an interviewer, I think you were a good patient because you kept talking and you had no problem sharing what was bugging you, and you kind of had to pinpoint it as to what was bugging you, and you had a plan, kind of. You have a sponsor. That's having a plan. It's a
Right.
plan. However, you were struggling, as a patient,
Right.
to tell your sponsor because you didn't want to deal with the shame and the guilt,
Right.
and
Yep.
you knew that. So
Right.
I think that was good. I think it was healthy.
Cool.
Awesome. Good.
Right on.
Cut.
Good job.